Kia ora. I have been holding on to the Comfort and Joy collection over this month and thinking about what I can put together to share it with you as we move into this feature collection in October. So just showing you the papers here. So there are 6 of the pattern papers, 3 each of the double-sided, the 2 each of the different designs. I have, using the white daisy, I have cut a circle out of the centre of a piece of white daisy cardstock using the Cricut, and I've also cut on one of these pattern papers from the Comfort and Joy collection kind of a wreath using the Flower Market Close to My Heart Cricut collection on there. So I sort of cut it and sized it to fit the circle that I've got on here. So I'm going to trim off the zip strip of this piece of pattern paper, as well as then trim the paper down to fit in behind the circle so that I've still got some of the side pieces left, and you'll see how I use part of that a little bit later on. So just thinking about placement and where it's all going to fit, working out the size of that circle that I had cut. I should have written it down or something. However, I didn't, so I just used the measurements on the Versamat to work all that out. And so here I've cut a 10 by 10 square out, and I'm going to be able to stick that on behind using the plaid. So while this is a Christmas collection, the layout that I'm putting together isn't a Christmas layout. So I just wanted to show you the versatility of this collection in that it doesn't have to be all about Christmas. So the poinsettia that I that was on the back there is quite a beautiful piece of paper, and it would be great to use around that Christmas time season. However, that's not what I'm doing here. So I've got the zip strip, and I'm just going to attach that down the bottom of the layout, as you can see. So the 2 photos that I am scrapbooking are of our cat Rua, who every time there's someone out in the yard or someone doing something, he seems to seek out our company or our presence. So this was no exception. My husband was busy working on getting a greenhouse set up for me, and Rua was out there hanging out in the wheelbarrow, making himself at home in his usual I like company and I like to be the centre of attention kind of style. So I'm just matting these 2 photos with some white daisy cardstock. Often I do just use scissors to trim around, but I just figured the paper was there, the trimmer was there, and I would use that today to pop them in behind. So just placing them there while I think through what I'm going to do next. I'm going to mat these photographs again a little bit further, so I'm just looking at leftover papers and just decide to use the back of what I cut the wreath out of, just around these edges. It's got a little bit of a kind of a brown or a soft brown pinstripe that I'm using to just tuck in behind each of these photographs. So here you can see what I would normally have done with the white daisy cardstock, where I just use my scissors to trim around. So I've got that trimmed, and I'm just looking, can I bring in some of this kind of holly berry paper? And I decide not to. I decide just to leave it as it is without bringing in a bit more of the green, because I'm going to use some fern ink with the current stamp of the month, which is called With All My Love. So that's the October stamp of the month that you can get. If you're a VIP, you will be able to get it free with a qualifying order. So check in with your consultant about signing up as a VIP, and each month that you spend the base amount, depending on which country you're in, you will be able to get that stamp for free. So where I am in New Zealand, it is $88 in your order, and you will get that stamp for free. Plus, you also get 15% of whatever your order is as Close to My Heart cash that you can use the following month. So here I'm using the fern with a couple of the With All My Love stamp of the month florals. So on this stamp I'm using the florals from it, but there are quite a few sentiments on there as well. So it's got sending love, thanks a ton, happy birthday, get feeling better, and X0X0 or kiss, hug, congratulations, you got this, missing you, with all my love, you are the best, good luck, and a happy anniversary banner. There's also a gorgeous heart on there, but because this is kind of a garden themed layout, I am using some of the stamps just to make it feel like we're in the garden. So I'm now going to attach the cricket cut from the Flower Market collection, just sort of dotting the tape runner here around at different points, and then I can place that where I like it, so it sits comfortably on that kind of inner circle, framing it that little bit more. I did wonder about adding some stitching around, but I think this border covers that quite comfortably. So I'm going to attach the photos to the mat, that sort of pinstripe mat that I'd created, and sort of position them gently on the page there, thinking about where I want them and the fact that I actually quite like this. So I'm going to pull out some of the stickers. Now here I'm pulling out one of the gold stickers from the Comfort and Joy collection, and I know it's sort of meant to be a floral, or it can be whatever you want it to be, but it was kind of intended as a little bit of a fleur or a floral that would tie in with Christmas cards or a Christmas scene with that beautiful gold shimmer to it. However, I am just including it in this page just to add another interest point, and I'll bring in a bit more gold later on with some of these stickers, and also with using the shimmer brush in the background there. So there's my photos. I have put some foam tape on the back of those so that they lift up a little bit, but it's the thin 3D tape, so it's not going to be sticking out too far. So having a look there at the other possibilities, it just feels, apart from the title and the journaling, it still feels like it needs a little bit of something else. So this is where I'm pulling out some of the little, what are possibly meant to be snowflakes, but I'm using them like little flowers or asterisks, and tucking them in at various points around that wreath and around those floral stamps. So happy with how that's looking, but again, just thinking about more little stickers here. So this is a green sticker that's on that sticker sheet that doesn't have a Christmas connection to it. So now I'm going to stamp my title, and I am using one of the stamp sets, and I'm just trying to find the packet as I do this voiceover. So it's called Whimsy Alphabet. I recommend getting a hold of the different alphabet stamps that come out from Close to My Heart, because it's great being able to choose from them, to choose a font that suits the page you're working on. Because of the wreath and because of those florals and the way I've put it around that centre point, it's got a whimsical feel, so I decided that this alphabet was the perfect kind of connection to add my title. So I'm using the archival black, and I'm stamping each letter individually. I found that it's easier to do it with a small stamp block and just the one letter at a time, because more often than not I need more than one vowel or more of one letter, so it's just as simple to stamp it letter by letter. So I'm I am stamping part of the action, and then I'm going to use the alphabet typewriter, or I think it's modern typewriter alphabet, which again, it's one, I'm not sure if it's in the current idea book, but seriously get a hold of the alphas as they come through, because they make for great titles. You can use them for card sentiments and all sorts of things. So I am now stamping Always using this typewriter alphabet. So like I said before with these photos, Rua always wants to be part of the action wherever that action's happening. He's currently asleep on the table in front of me. Again, he likes to be around people. And so that's exactly what he's doing now, as well as in this photograph. So use again each letter individually stamped in there. So I'm just going to tuck those stamps away and give them a good clean up a little bit later on with the chamois. And so I'm tucking that away. So here the page could be finished apart from the fact that all my pages have some journaling on them. So I'm going to pull off this little blue one, and I play around with where it fits, eventually going back to kind of where I started, where my first idea was to stick that. And I'm going to add my journaling onto it. So it says, whenever we are doing things in the backyard, Rua tends to appear to be part of the action. Last Saturday was no exception. So I'm using the 0.3 black journaling pen on this, and this ties in with the archival black ink, and it's probably my favourite journaling pen thickness, and yeah, it just has enough, stands out enough without it taking over. So I'm just going to add another wee interest point up the top here, because I really love that poinsettia paper that's on the back of this plaid here, but I just I didn't want it to take over. So you can see I'm just sort of working out where to position it, and I decided not to bring in the red flower, and I want to keep it a little bit white. Because otherwise it was going to dominate too much, although it is in the centre of the plaid. So here I've just put the tape around the sort of the torn area, and I am pressing that down. So you can just see how it just adds another interest point. And if you look at how this layout kind of shapes up, although there's a central circle, if you look, there's kind of a line through the layout where you've got that little torn piece at the top, then you've got your circle, but then you've got your title, and then the journaling sort of brings you off the onto the bottom of it there. So that's just an interest point. Plus there's kind of there's sort of a couple of triangles of interest in here. You've got these two floral areas on either side of the circle, plus you've got the bit at the top, or you've got the two floral areas, and then you've got the title and journaling. So triangles are another really cool design element that you can bring in that helps to keep the layout interesting. So I've just used the gold shimmer brush there, and I squeezed it out a little bit to start with so it was nice and juicy before I splattered and dropped it on. Now I'm going to dot on some of the little white flowers that are part of the annual idea book, and I'm getting pretty low on these. I'm thinking I'm going to need to get a few more sets ordered sooner rather than later. They just add a really nice subtle dimension to pages. So I'm also bringing in some of the coloured flowers, just 3 of the light blue, and I'm going, because that brings in with the journaling kind of section that I've got there. It's the only sort of blue, although the wheelbarrow's got a little bit of blue tied in. So now I'm going to add some of the liquid pearls. So I'm using robin's egg here just to dot around at a few points in this circle, as well as in the middle of those gold splatters at the top. So it's kind of random, but it's kind of considered at the same time as I sort of make sure it's not in a straight line or something like that. So these have a really beautiful dimension lifted up. I don't know, there's just a really nice sense when you look at them when they're dry, and how they finish things off beautifully. They do take a little bit of time to dry. You can use a heat tool to speed up that process a little bit, but it's probably best just to be left overnight. So now in the centre of the centre of these big roses, I've added the rose gold. I think, is it rose gold? Yes, it looks like it. No, it wasn't. It was ballerina, the ballerina liquid pearls that I've popped on there. So I used the bisque in the centre of the rose, kind of the peony type one, and in the centre of the little daisies I used the ballerina. So there we have a layout that is not a Christmas layout, created using Comfort and Joy by Close to My Heart.